It's been a day for the history books yet again. Communications Director for President Donald Trump's transition team, Bryan Lanza, joins us live now for his thoughts on it. So what did you make of the events of this morning, Bryan? Not surprisingly, Donald Trump pleading not guilty to all of the charges. Where to from here?
Well, thank you very much for having me. From here, it's just fight. I mean, that's all the President Trump's been doing since 2015. During the campaign, during his 4 years as president, and this 2 years or 3 years since. So for him, the posture's the same. It's just a continuation of what started in 2015.
How would he be feeling behind the scenes at the moment? He's on board the plane at the moment. What would be going on?
He's reviewing his remarks. He certainly understands the importance of his remarks. I think if you had the indictment, which was the U.S.'s high water mark in presenting their case, because it's never been stress tested. They basically got to dictate, what the grand jury got to see. And Trump knows that his response is that first time you get to puncture a hole in what the government's case looks like. And he knows the importance of it. He's weighing it in. And my guess is he's just going to let it rip.
Okay, well, elaborate on that. What's he going to say?
Yeah, he's going to attack. He's going to say that the prosecutors were involved, and there's been documented mainstream stories that the prosecutors were involved in misconduct in trying to intimidate witnesses, intimidate attorneys. I think we saw a recent NBC story, an American media story that referred to that. He's going to highlight that, and probably every piece of evidence that related to that particular prosecutor. He's going to ask that be thrown out. I mean, there are steps along this way that give the president the ability to fight legally, and from a PR standpoint, that this case will probably not see the day of light before the election. Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask you. It does seem that would be very unlikely, that this would happen before the election, because there will be appeal. That will be a delaying tactic, and that will be in place. So what happens if he becomes president? Can he throw it out?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he can appoint the attorney general, who the very next minute can dismiss the charges.
Right, and would he do that? Do you think he's likely to do that, plus the other cases as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, he can only do the federal stuff. He can't do the state stuff. But yeah, I think he's very much likely to do that. I think any Republican candidate, with the exception of Chris Christie and Asa Hutchinson and Ron DeSantis, are probably likely to do that. They think the general perception here among the Republican Party and the Republican base is that this very much is a witch hunt. They can cite example after example where the normal rules of law, the normal rules of what happens are being bent to go after President Trump. And them trying to prosecute Trump for 400 years is what I read. If he was found guilty of all counts, it's up to 400 years. The country doesn't want President Trump to be guilty of 400 years in prison. So it's oftentimes the overreaction by his opponents that give the president the opportunity to maneuver his way out.
Donald Trump, no doubt, has been on the end of an unrelenting campaign from the Democrats, none of which has stuck so far, but they are continuing. And we went through all the cases a little bit earlier, Bryan. I mean, you've got this case, you've got the Stormy Daniels hush money case. Ahead of him, though, you've got election tampering in Georgia. You've got the January 6th and 2020 aftermath. The E. Jean Carroll case continues with an appeal likely there. A business fraud case in New York. So his plate is full when it comes to legal cases against him. Does any of that stick at all? I mean, January 6th and Georgia seem the strongest.
Actually, Georgia's become the weakest as more and more evidence or more and more stories have come out. It looks like Georgia will absolutely probably indict some of the people associated with President Trump in the campaign, but they're going to probably most likely fall short of indicting President Trump. January 6th, I think that's probably the weakest of all the cases that are existing there, because the president does have some constitutional rights that allow him to make the claims that he made and allow him to go through the process, and to try to criminalize that type of process and that speech. It's just not going to fly ultimately in our courts. So he still has his previous cases that he has to deal with, and they're very aggressive. But I think it just highlights the fact that, this has been a constant assault since 2015. It's not going to stop when he wins or whether he loses. I think the left has just made the decision they need to eradicate Trump in order to make sure nothing grows from that.
Hey, what's he going to do for his birthday tonight, Bryan?
He's going to be with friends. He'll probably have some ice cream.
Is that it? Ice cream? 2 scoops instead of one. Is that all?
He'll have a steak. God forbid he puts ketchup on it. But he'll have a steak.
I don't understand that either. You get a Guernsey to that, Bryan?
What's that?
Do you get a Guernsey to that one?
No, no,
Do you
I've
say
got my own thing.
Do you say you probably don't say Guernsey in the United States? A Jersey? Do you get an invite? I should have said. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'm always invited to things on Trump World, but this one's one that just didn't make sense for me
Well, there you go. Yeah, Bryan Lanza, appreciate your time. Thank you so much.